because a lot of people watching this also have the same aspirations. They want to come to Dubai and work here, and you've done it. Your story might help them to do it as well.
So for me, when I moved here, when the plane landed in Dubai airport, I knew nobody to call to pick me up. And I'm not joking. I had 700, when I converted the money and I got the cash, I had literally 700 dirhams in my hand, which means I couldn't take a hotel, I couldn't even take a taxi to go anywhere. So it was not safe. I did not do it the safe way. I would not recommend it. But if something like this makes sense to you because you are adventurous and take your risks in life, which is what makes an entrepreneur different than the other people, is that we take risks. Please do it. But I wouldn't recommend this.
If it can be automated, it should be. That's the motto of our guest this week. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Be Your Own Boss. Our guest this week is probably the youngest guest on our show. Eman Agnamma is her name, and she is the founder of Quality Digital Marketing LLC. Quality is a digital marketing and AI automation agency based in Dubai and Sharjah, and their primary objective is to assist small business owners in establishing a thriving personal brand and help them with their branding. By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube and you think you don't have an hour to invest, listen to this podcast on Spotify or any of your preferred podcast platforms, because that way you can listen to it while you're doing other things like driving, cooking, walking, working out. You can just listen to it while you're out and about. With that, let's get started. Let's hear from Iman about her story, her journey. Iman, thank you so much for taking our time and joining us here on the Be Your Own Boss podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sachin, for having me. It's great to be here.
So before we get started, like I said, Iman is probably the youngest guest, and we literally have like a. I'm in my mid 40s. She's in her mid 20s. I think we've got like a big generation gap. So I'm going to tell you in advance, there might be things that I don't know about because it's the new generation, new thing. So apologies in advance.
That would be okay. I'm used to dealing with people way older than me. I'm always the youngest in the room. So this will be very easy for me.
Fantastic, and I'm gonna we do want to talk about that quite a bit about like how you got started right at the young age, and well before that, right? Let's start from the beginning, right from the beginning. Tell us about your parents, your siblings, where were you born, and yeah, your childhood memories.
So I'm Moroccan. I'm from Morocco, and I was born in a small city called Agadir. If you follow the news, the late earthquake that happened in Morocco was there, unfortunately. So I grew up in a very humble neighborhood, very small, and my family contains of my mom, my dad, and two of my youngest brothers. So the age difference, they are my youngest brother is 10 years younger than me, and the middle one is 5 to 6 years younger than me. So my childhood was mostly studying and taking care of my brothers because I was like their second mom most of the time. So when it comes to family, we had a normal childhood, and my mom was very supportive of me studying. She was always the typical Arab mother: study, 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 and then study. So the focus was always on education. So that's why I grew up to be a nerd, and I had this fascination with technology from a very young age.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
Interesting.
I studied the actually I ended up studying mathematics because in my country you don't get to study things like robotics, which I was mostly interested in robotics, tech, AI. These are not fields that are available in Morocco, so I end up studying maths because it made sense to me that it was close to problem solving. Technology is always about problem solving. How can we innovate something to fix this? And maths is very close to it. So it made sense to me to study that instead of technology since it wasn't available at the time in Morocco.
Right. That's very, very interesting. And first of all, how's your family back home with the earthquake and everything? Do you have is are things all right back home?
All is good. They're safe. Everything is well, and I'm thankful for that. And honestly, I'm very touched about what happened in Morocco. And if I was able to help, I would have. Um, yeah, but my family is safe, which is good.
That's good. Yeah, touch wood. And so, growing up as a child, when you had interest in technology, but did you think that you will become a businesswoman one day?
I always thought I was going to be something big. I was delusional since a very young age. I mean, looking at my environment growing up, no one in my environment had finished their degree, has started a business. So I'm the first in the family who's done all of this. So, but because of my mom and how she encouraged me, she was always telling me that I'm going to be something. So I always believed I'm going to be something. Yes, nobody in my family has done it before. Nobody has started a business or has achieved something big, but it doesn't hurt to be the first. You don't have to see other people do it in order for you to do it. You can be the
Yeah,
first.
absolutely. You can be the first, and you are the first, right? Brilliant.
I'm happy. I'm happy to be the first always. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about like the once you finished your studies in in mathematics after in Morocco, what was your next step? How did you come to Dubai?
So how I came to Dubai was very interesting. Uh, my first job in Morocco was a part-time job while I was studying to support myself, and I worked in a calling center. So I always wanted to work somewhere where it's mostly English speaking because I thought of leaving the country one day and moving to a country in which you focus on speaking English instead of Arabic or French, which is what's mostly used in Morocco. So I had multiple jobs in calling centers, English speaking calling centers. So I moved from a very nerd, introverted kid who doesn't even pick up the phone to having 70 calls a day, sometimes 100 calls a day with strangers, and having to help them solve their problems, and having to speak a language that was my third language because my first and second language are Arabic and French.
And French. Yeah.
Um, so after I finished this stage of my life, which I was studying, working in a calling center, I ended up figuring out that the best career choice for me as somebody who enjoyed helping people and talking to people and solving their problems, but at the same time I enjoyed the technology side of things, the technical problem solving. I thought the best mix of that would be marketing, or especially digital marketing. So
Mm.
I got my first job in Morocco in digital marketing, and Morocco is a beautiful country, very great atmosphere. But when it comes to tech, it's not innovative enough for you to have a career. So I felt I was very limited when it comes to career options I had ahead of me. Especially at a young age, I realized that okay, maybe in 10 years I could achieve something, but I will be very limited by my environment. And this is why I think environment is a big deal when it comes to your career. So I decided to move abroad, and one of the countries that I had on my list, Dubai wasn't the only option. I had a list of options, but Dubai was on the top of my options because it was English speaking city, or like UAE is an English speaking country mostly, and the innovation when it comes to technology is heavy here. Also, entrepreneurship is big in UAE. which is why I decided to move here. And it was the best decision I ever done to my life, I ever made in my life. So I'm grateful to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, UAE, there is no place on earth like Dubai. It's
Exactly.
such a, yeah, it's such a wonderful place, and we are blessed to be here. So, how did that move happen? When so you decided that okay, Dubai is one of the places that you want to go, and did you come here to apply for jobs, or did you just apply from there? Tell us about that, because a lot of people watching this also have the same aspirations. They want to come to Dubai and work here, and you've done it. Your story might help them to do it as well.
Definitely. So I'm not conventional in the way I came to Dubai. Obviously, I applied for tourist visa and I came here and I started looking for work. But the way I've done it is very unconventional. And honestly, I do not recommend this to other people. This is probably a lesson of what not to do, how not to move to Dubai. So what I did was I was very young at the time, 21. I just turned 21, and I decided to. I was saving a little bit of money, and I decided to invest all of it in a visa, plane ticket, and come here and figure out what's going to happen. And that's how I did it. So I didn't calculate anything. I was just like, I want to be there. And the moment I'm there, I'm going to decide what happens later on. And I do take risks like this in life, especially since I'm young and I have little to lose. But I don't recommend somebody who is maybe not in their 20s and have kids and family. Please do not do this. But for me, and if you are in your 20s, consider doing this. But it's a very hard and rough road, especially if you are a woman. So for me, when I moved here, when the plane landed in Dubai airport, I knew nobody to call to pick me up. And I'm not joking. I had 700 when I converted the money and I got the cash, I had literally 700 dirhams in my hand, which means I couldn't take a hotel, I couldn't even take a taxi to go anywhere. So it was not safe. I did not do it the safe way. I would not recommend it. But if something like this makes sense to you because you are adventurous and take your risks in life, which is what makes an entrepreneur different than the other people, is that we take risks. Please do it. But I wouldn't recommend this. Yeah, so it was a very hard start in Dubai, but that's what I love about, I guess, being in Dubai. Is it the land of dreams? You can come here with 700 dirhams and start your business. I didn't start it immediately, obviously after 3 years, but it's possible. This is what America has promised. This
Yes.
is what becomes Dubai is becoming the new America. Middle East is becoming the new America, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and this is a very very interesting story, and you've highlighted some very important parts here. I'm going to repeat that. You said that depending on your age, depending on your stage of life, on the phase of life you're in, you take your risks. So if you're young, you have less to lose. You can take risks, and this is what you did at at 21. You came here with 700 dirhams. Tell us about that. How did you? What happened next?
So what happened next is that I stayed in the airport. I was trying to get a SIM card, as one does. So because you can make any calls in the country. Not that I had anybody to call. I just tried to get the SIM card and a bus card because I knew I'm going to need this soon. I had nowhere to go. I had no one to call, and I didn't even know where I was, where to go. It's not like I studied the map or knew some popular places, but because of my luck and because of my complete delusion, I guess, I met two guys there who happened to be Moroccans, and I spoke to them. I was like, "Hey, I'm looking for an accommodation. I just moved here, and I don't have that much money, but I'm looking for accommodation for ladies." And they were like, "Hey, we know somebody, and we can drop you there." And this was at 3 a.m. at night. 3 a.m. in the airport. So out of my luck, I do consider myself a very lucky person. So that's why I don't recommend it. And they were very nice because I'm Moroccan, they're Moroccan. You know, when you're immigrant and you're from the same country, you do feel like this is somebody from your country. What if this was your sister? What if this was somebody from your family? So they dropped me at this lady's house, and at 3 a.m., she welcomed me and she said, "Hey, don't worry about the rent, don't worry about anything, just sleep for the night. Tomorrow, when I come back from work at 7 p.m., we can talk." So the day after that, she came back home at 7 p.m. And then I discussed with her. I said, "Hey, I have 700 dirhams." And I'm not joking. It's literally the number that I had. I think
Yeah.
703, like 35 dirhams or something. And I said, "This is how much I have in my wallet, literally. I'm going to give you half of it. Look for a job. And then I will pay the rent as soon as I got a job."
Mhm.
And I started. I filled my bus card and I started looking for a job and I started applying because they had the Wi-Fi in the accommodation everywhere. Within 2 weeks, I got a part-time job. So in Dubai, when you work part-time jobs, which is not necessarily a great option, but if you need money like quickly, you can work by the hour, you can work by the day, and they will pay you maybe the same day, maybe after 1 week. And that's what happened. I got a part-time job, and within 1 week, I've accumulated enough money to pay the rent and cover the groceries. And after that, obviously, I started applying to more serious jobs, which were in my field, but that was the start. And
Wow.
it was a rough start. Would not recommend it. I was walking in the heat in Dubai, and if you've ever been in Dubai, it's not a good, it's not a good idea. Applying everywhere, asking everybody if they have a part-time job. I got 3 shades darker in 2 weeks, but it all went for I guess a good cause.
Yeah, and you had a dream, and you've come to the dream city, and you were brave. And they say, the fortune favors the brave. And yes, you were lucky, but luck favors the brave, right? And this, you got lucky because you were brave, and you took that risk. I'm
Thank you.
super proud of you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it wasn't easy, and honestly, with being very, very honest and integrity, I did not tell my parents because if you know anything about Arab mothers and also I think South Asian mothers, is that they are very protective of their daughters. So if my mom knew that I went there and I was looking for work and I was walking, I didn't have enough, knew all of this, she would not let me, get into this position. I told my mom I'm going to Dubai because I already have a job, because I don't want her to worry. But in reality, I was just taking the risk. And I knew that if I don't take the risk at 21, I probably would not be able to take it at 31 if I'm married with kids or, you know, yeah.
Yes, that's a very good point. Yeah, I mean, this is the age to take the risk, and you did. And so tell us about the job then. You see, you got a job after that, after the few part-time jobs. Did you get a good full-time job?
Yes, I got a full-time job in a company, a real estate company in Dubai, and I was doing their marketing for them. This was full-time. I had visa and everything, so it was kind of a more safe environment to be able to work and grow. I learned a lot from the first month. I learned a lot because in Morocco, the difference is there isn't much diversity in the workplace. You're not interacting with people from different cultures and different work environment. But the difference in Dubai is that you work with people from different cultures, different nationalities. They come from different backgrounds with different work ethics. So to me, that was all new, and everybody is eager for you to learn. No one will gatekeep any information from you, and this is what I liked about working in Dubai and working for my first job was marketing expert.
Hmm. Was
So
it also was it in digital marketing?
yes, it was a digital marketing expert job for a real estate company in Dubai. And that was my first job. And then I moved doing the same thing After 1 year, I was doing the same thing for another company, but this is semi-government. I was working for Tadbir. If you know Tadbir, there is semi-government offices in within Dubai, which they also need marketing, and they do employ somebody who takes care of their marketing in house. And I was doing this for them. Also, I learned a lot because this most of the staff in these summer government or government offices are locals. So I learned a lot about UAE culture, about the local culture from the interacting with them. So I got a taste of everything from these jobs. Although my job was the same and my limits were the same within both positions.
Yeah, but the exposure was different, and you got that. You
Was
got to learn.
great. I was learning something new every day. I loved it. I loved being around people from different cultures. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And so, when was it that you thought that you're gonna quit your job and start your own business? When did that idea come about? When did the idea of quality digital marketing come about in your mind?
So before quality digital marketing, I was freelancing. So while I was working for these companies, I was taking projects here and there and freelancing. So if somebody needs the same services that I was offering for the company, and if someone needs them outside, I would provide these services part time. So I was comfortable making a living part time at the time, also while working.
So you
And
were doing
at
like a
some
side hustle on the side, like while
like
working, you were
on the
doing.
side.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I do think everybody who works in the tech field should do something by themselves on the side, regardless of how much they're getting paid, just to be able to be creative. Because when you're working for a company, you're working for their cause. You never get to expand your or grow in your field without the company. So if the company does not allow you to be creative in this manner, you will not be able to do it. So the good thing is to if you want to be creative and you want to learn, is to take projects from outside. Try this and try that, and maybe you will not necessarily start your own thing. It's a good idea to start your own thing, but at least you will expand and see what are you comfortable with outside of the company culture or the company's cause.
Yeah, yeah, and the restrictions, right? I mean, if you're working for a company, there are limitations. So that you work within certain boundaries. There, your creativity is structured within a certain boundaries, and when you're doing it on the side for someone else, you can kind of expand your horizon there.
And that's what I faced. That was the problem what I faced, and that's why I decided I would rather freelance full time or start my own thing than work for a company. Because my last company I was working with, all good things aside, is my I'm not the type, and I guess you have interacted with a lot of entrepreneurs, and you can tell from the way they behave and the way they interact and the way they think, as there is the type to be a leader and the type to be a follower. There's nothing wrong with being either of these things. Nothing wrong with being a follower. Is that one needs a mission and one has a mission. And when I was working for both of these companies, I always had a mission, and it was always hard to for me to suppress my input and suppress my thoughts for the benefit of the company. That's why I knew eventually I'm going to be doing my own thing. And I knew it from a very young age, and even before I moved to Dubai. Uh, but having to work for a company's purpose was a great challenge for me. But sometimes it's good because you get to learn from it as well.
Yeah, you get that experience, you get that exposure, but then I think this is a very very important aspect that you brought here, that there are people who some have a mission, some need a mission. You had a mission. If you have a mission, then it's difficult to kind of suppress that and mold yourself into someone else's dream. And So, and then once you started doing this freelancing for on the side while you were still working, um, how did things progress after that? And when did you decide to, like, safe enough to quit the job? Uh, what was your next step?
Well, I started the job, and the first, like the honeymoon phase, the first 3 months of every job, you love it, you love everything, you're learning, this is your second home, you enjoy your 8 hours, and you go home, and you're like, every minute of it was worth it. And then after the honeymoon phase, then it starts to drain on you that you have a mission, you come here for with a purpose, and now you're starting to lose it. And I guess everybody in your environment picks up on it, especially if you are a leader by nature and you're not easy to control. Everyone in your environment can feel it in your energy because you have your own way of thinking, your own mindset. And when that you don't get to live your truth, you finally get like to have this drained energy all the time, and people can feel it. And that's when I started falling in that category of I'm being drained, I need to do my own thing. And I was a little bit doing that outside by taking these projects here and there, but I wasn't. The thing about me is that when I get to a point in which I'm completely comfortable, that's when I have to disturb my comfort. Because I know in my comfort zone, I cannot learn anything, I cannot grow, have to be disturbed. Move on to the next stage, take the next risk. So the next risk was to quit my job and just exactly like how I came to Dubai with no plan. Just quit the job and we figure out what happens after that. So I quit the job and I had no plan. I moved my working visa to my to a tourist visa, and I just started figuring out. And the funny thing is, when I left my job and I quit, the same day I filmed the video of me saying, in next year I'm gonna have a digital marketing agency that does AI and does this and this and this. And I started explaining about the agency, and I started talking as if I have it. And I right now, like recently, I was looking through my gallery and I saw that video and was like, "This is so strange. It looks like was she talking about?" Because she wasn't in a position to do this.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit. I guess this is where the delusion comes in. Is that I think I have it, and then I guess it just happens. So
Wow.
when I moved cities, I was working in Abu Dhabi, and then I have to move to Dubai because I had no business in Abu Dhabi. And most clients, most businesses are in Dubai. So I moved to Dubai and I was freelancing full time. I had no plan of like income every month, because when you're freelancing, the problem that comes in is that you can have a big project today, but you're not guaranteeing that you will have another project to guarantee the next income for the next month, not like
Yeah.
having a job. So that was a big, big challenge for me at the time. That's why instead of doing the regular thing that people do, which is you'll go to these websites like Fiverr, people per hour, and you'll start freelancing there, thinking that you will have uh, a regular incomes. That if people review your work, people will come in again and they will see the other reviews and they will work with you. But I thought, since I wanted to start an agency, the best idea is that to work with people locally, work with companies locally, work with people that are near me, so they know my name and they know what I do, and eventually they will recommend me to their friends and their business partners and their groups, and that's how I started networking and getting clients locally. At the start, it was hard because I just moved from another city, and also I didn't have any network. I had no network. I had no people that knew what I do. Everybody that knew me from before knew me as the marketing lady that worked for this company, or the marketing lady that worked for such and such. They didn't know my full potential, everything that I can do. They didn't even know my name. So I started networking and getting clients in that way. And I noticed that when you are providing more than enough, because most of my clients at the time, they would come in for, we just want, for example, for you to make a website. And I would say, listen, I have been doing this for a while, and I know that you don't need a website, for example. You just need to have a landing page with ads. When you give your best and you treat the business as if it's yours, if this was my business, what would I do? And this is the advice that I would give to my clients. They will think of me as somebody who's that invested in their business. So obviously, they want the best for their friends. They would recommend me to their friend. Within 3 months, I started having a network of new people. Went from having 200 people on my phone to 1,000 contacts of people who I actually have a genuine connection with, and my connection with them will not expire when the contract with the company expires, like the other people that I knew from before. So that's how it all started. But the way I started, the company was another jump. So I always
Wow.
jump every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is brilliant. First of all, like the way you created your network and your network. I mean, you didn't know anybody. I mean, if I look back, like go a couple of years back or a few years ago when you landed in Dubai with 700 dirhams in your pocket, 735 dirhams, and didn't know anybody here. You've established yourself because you had a dream and you were bold enough to go out there and talk to people, network with people. This is very, very important. The importance of networking is like you can this is really, really important. So, and tell us about the establishment of how did you start quality digital marketing?
So we'll pick up from the networking part. When I was talking to everybody about what I was doing and providing the services to them, I met a few people that were way out of my league, well, business wise. You know what I mean? I was working with businesses who just started. I was working with people within my age range who just started, but I was always reaching for new clients who were out of my league, who would usually work with an agency, because eventually I wanted to start an agency. So one of these clients, well, before I say this, I was talking to a lot of people who have multiple companies, and one day, out of my delusions, as always, I just decided to sit down and have like a company presentation. If I have an agency, and I want to convince somebody to invest in it, and I have an idea, how would I present it? And I sat down. I worked for a week or so on a business presentation. And every person that I've met, I'm not joking, every person that I've met who had a business, I would sit down with them and say, hey, this is what I want to do. Uh, just give me 5 minutes of your time, and I would talk about it. I would talk and talk and talk, and I wouldn't shut up about it until the point in which everybody was getting annoyed. Because if you want to go through, especially if you are in my age range and you want to go through the whole process of finding investors and having to go through an investment firm, and they will help you find an investor in your pitch, it's going to be hard because you need to have something tangible to provide. But if you only have an idea, like I did at the time, and I was a freelancer. I didn't have it in my means to start an agency by my own, because there's a lot of expenses that go through it. So my idea at the time was, since I already have a big network and I'm already going to be meeting new people all the time, how about I just talk about it? So every client I had, I just said, yes, I'm freelancing and I'm doing this, but I'm also starting an agency, and this is the idea of my agency. And I'm currently looking for an investor. I would say this over and over and over again. And by I think November last year or October last year, within the same month, I had 3 calls from friends of friends, or like same month. I would not, I didn't even believe it. I was like, what's going on? Like, suddenly everybody's interested. What the hell? So I got three calls. Friends of clients I've worked with, like, hey, Iman, how are you doing? This, I know that you have this, but how about we meet and talk? And within 1 month, I have three people, three investors who are interested in supporting my idea, my digital marketing idea, um, agency, financially. So I had to choose. Suddenly, I was in a position of choosing which one to go through.
Wow.
So it was kind of that's why I keep saying I feel like I'm lucky, but at the same time, it's not always luck. It's how you position yourself. If you put yourself in an environment with people with it who when like I'm not thinking about it in the superficial ways that you have to be around people who will benefit you, but also you have to put yourself with people who are make sense with the person that you want to become. I want to become a businesswoman, for example. I need to be around businessmen, businesswomen, business people. If I don't do that, I will never be that person. So, because I positioned myself in this way, I suddenly found myself in a position which I have to choose between investors. I don't even have to go looking for them. And I went ahead with and lastly, like when you are going through the investment process, there are a lot of things to take in considerations, like how much the investment will be, how long would it be, how much the percentage would it be, and 24-year-old. I have no business degree. I don't know any of these terms. Obviously, I was confused. I didn't know that all of this would go through it. So luckily, because of my network, I had someone that could help me with this advice. So I spoke to one of my friends who already had an agency, and he told me to go ahead with one of the investors who had the best option for me long term. So I wouldn't sign on something or I wouldn't agree on something that wouldn't be beneficial for me long term. Which is always this is why it's always good to have people in your life who are bigger, older than you, and bigger than you, and know more than you. So they will
Mentors. Yeah.
guide you through it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Brilliant. So, I think this is a fantastic, story here because you went out there and spoke to people. You told everyone, and I think it's like a funnel, right? You spoke to, you must have spoken to probably like 100 people, and then out of those 100 people, three of them called you back and then said, let's talk, and somehow then things connected, and from there then you got so with the help of your friend. And I want to know about this because I mean, good, your friend helped you with this, but the amounts, how did you, between you and your friend, how did you all decide what is the amount required for the investment? What was your ask uh, for to the investors?
So the investment that we went ahead with was not only that we need to establish the company, the offices, and the startup expenses, but it also has to be an investment in the long term, because what I will be doing is the work. I will provide everything in my power for the work to be profitable for the investors. But at the end of the day, they believe in the idea, but they have to consider that there must be profit. If there is no profit, there is no business. So I'm going to ensure the the that they will have profits in the long term, or from the start of the business, because I already had freelancers, and this is why it was a good idea to start after a while of freelancing. After you do the initial expenses, the calculation of the initial expenses, which I had no idea about. I had to learn everything. And the thing about being an entrepreneur is that there is a lot of things that you learn that has nothing to do with what you actually originally supposed to do. The accounting, the calculations, how to deal with people, crisis management, all of this no one will teach you in school, and has nothing to do with your business. If your business like digital marketing, like me, you obviously are not an accountant. You don't know any of these terms, so you have to learn. So he taught me how my friend is an older gentleman who started his business a long time ago, more than 15 years ago, and he went through the process of, this is why it's good to be around people who older than you or learn more than you, is because he failed, and because he failed over and over and over, he can give me the advice to help me, not to protect me from failure, you have to fail also, but to help me avoid the mistakes that he have made. So the initial calculations were done by him, and his advice was it's going to be a long term investment. Instead of just giving you this amount of money, go ahead with it, start ahead with it, and do what you will. So this is why we decided to go uh, ahead with one of the investors who had this long term mindset of, I'm going to be able to provide all of this in the long term, regardless of how much profit we have in the first trimester, the second trimester, the first year, etc.
Got it. Got it. Brilliant. So once you got the investment, I mean, you chose one of the three investors who were ready to invest in you, right? And you,
Yes.
yeah. And once you set up, how was it different from, like, how did life change after you register your company, after you registered your company, versus the previous, earlier when you were doing a freelancing work?
Yeah. It changed big time, and you think the thing about it is people would think, oh, you just become, well, overnight you just become a business person, but the thing about being entrepreneur is it's a mindset. You already are an entrepreneur before you start your first business. So while I was doing the networking, now I have to do more of it. While I was doing the sales before as a freelancer, now I have to do more of it. The only new thing is, you have to manage staff, you have to take responsibilities of mistakes that you didn't make. Because while I was working as a freelancer, I have my computer. If I make a mistake, I can fix it from here. I'll take accountability for my own. But when you are working with a team, now you have to take accountability for other people's mistakes. Now that's the hard thing. If you have an ego, it's not going to work for you because you have to kill your ego when it comes to this. Also, there is a lot of stress that comes with the beginning of a business that nobody tells you about. And there's a lot of challenges. One of the challenges that I faced myself, and I had to take my friend's advice when it came to this challenge, was that I did not know how to hand over work to other people because I didn't trust the quality of others people work like I did with mine. I knew that I can do this the best, so to give it to somebody to do it the best, I have to trust them. So trusting your staff, your employees, people that work with you as a team is a very big process, and it's hard and it's not easy. And he told me, my friend sat down with me and he said, I faced this issue at the beginning as well, but I had to hire someone because I have to admit, I cannot do everything by myself, especially not at the start. So you have to give certain things to some people and you have to trust, and if they make a mistake, you have to take accountability for it, which is the hardest part. For me, it was the hardest part. But maybe if somebody's watching this and they just started their business, they will face different problems or different issues or challenges from mine, depending on the business and depending on their personality. I am a perfectionist. So if the work isn't done properly, I'm not going to be happy with it. And I had to let go of that perfectionism to get anything done. So somebody, if they're watching this and they have issues with time management, they might face a different challenge.
Yeah, yeah, and I think this is delegation is one of the toughest things. Like, it's also like you said, trust, right? You have to trust the other person, and also you have to accept a different quality of work than what you can produce. Because you know that you can do it in this way, and this is, like, you find it the best, but then somebody else does it in a different way, and they may not be up to the mark, but you have to accept it because you can't redo what they've been doing, and then you can't keep doing that, right? So that's
As
one of the lessons.
what my friend told me is that the client's standards will always be lower than yours because of our personalities match. We're both perfectionists, so our standards are very high. But you, as a client, for example, if you tell me to do this task, your standards for it might be lower than mine. And maybe the employee I will have, or they might not have the highest standards, but they will meet the client's standards. And that's the only thing that's important is the client satisfaction. So, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So, Iman, now that you've started the business and you've been running and you have a team, looking back at that, looking back at the girl who landed at Dubai airport with 700 dirhams in hand, to the businesswoman that you've become in a very short time. First of all, fantastic! Congratulations on this journey. Looking at this journey, and even before this, like, who would you like to give the credit to, or who would you like to thank for the success that you've had?
I guess every person that I've met in the way and have facilitated for me in a way or another to be here. From the investors to my friend's advice to my former employee who told me that I'm supposed to start my own business. I will not forget that. Thank you for that because now I'm here. To everybody, even the guys who drove me from the airport and offered me the lift to this place. I don't have their contacts, don't have their names, but obviously they've played a big role. Everyone. And if you think about it, even in your everyday life, people will just give you an advice or they just help you get something quicker. And that's, to me, that is a bigger service than somebody handing you this big opportunity like on a silver spoon.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think every person have given me an advice, an opportunity, a foot in the door, or just a word of encouragement. I'm very grateful for all of that.
sure. And the guys who you should actually forward this, once we release the video. You should send this video to all of those people. Even the lady who at 3 o'clock in the night she welcomed you to her house, and then so you should give it to share this video with all of them. And those two guys, the Moroccan guys who helped you from the airport to the lady's house, though you don't have their contact, I hope this video reaches them because the video will be on
Please reach
YouTube.
out to
So,
me.
guys, yeah, and the thanks, the gratitude goes through the video to them. So,
Definitely.
Iman, yeah, for people who are small business people who are watching this, who run small businesses, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, who would like to benefit from the services that you provide at Quality Digital Marketing, what's the best way that people can reach out to you?
So people can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I go by Iman Ag, AJ, or you can reach out to me on the contacts on my website, qualitydigitalmarketing.ae or digitalmarketingindubai.ae. Or you can also reach out to me on Instagram. I do not prefer this, but it's open. Oh, DMs are open for everyone. Or if you need advice, it doesn't have to be a business transaction. If you need advice, someone to talk to, someone to guide you, if you want me to do what other people have done for me to you, when you just landed in Dubai and you want somebody to help, please reach out.
Wow, this is awesome, awesome, Iman. Fantastic. You're paying it forward. You're offering the help to people.
Definitely, I have to. I have to pay it forward. Yeah.
So we're gonna include the links to your LinkedIn profile and your website and your Instagram on the in the description for YouTube and in the show notes for the podcast platforms. One final question, Iman, before we wrap up here. How was your experience being on the Be Your Own Boss podcast?
I watched a couple of episodes. I loved every one of them. And the experience, I feel like I'm at home. I feel like you're my best friend. I know you said 20 years age difference, but again, I do not I do not subscribe to this. Best people that I have in my life are way older than me. So yeah, I feel like I'm very welcomed. I can speak my mind and my truth, and you're a great host. I mean, you're doing the best I've seen so far. So this is a very comfortable experience. Love it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And with the way you're a great storyteller, the way you've told your story, the way and your story has, there is, the struggles and the triumphs and your personality. You've touched my heart. Big hug. And thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your journey, sharing your story with us. It was wonderful talking to you.
Thank you. It was wonderful being here also. Hopefully we'll do this, but in the upcoming future if I do something crazier.
Yes. Well, we should do it again as
Well,
well.
we should do
Definitely.
that again.
Yes.
Definitely.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that was Eman Agnamma, the founder of Quality Digital Marketing LLC, and you've been watching and listening to Be Your Own Boss.